Hello, everyone. This is our final project report. We are going to go ahead and move along. So, my name is Christian Branch,
And my name is Geoffrey Henke.
and we are known as the Eagle Patrol. The Eagle Patrol was named after our affiliation with the Boy Scouts of America and after the name of our ranks. We are both Eagle Scouts, in which we did just came up with the first idea, and the idea just kind of stuck. So that's how we became the Eagle Patrol. So this project report will be covering our project, which was to build a service facility in Oklahoma City in Oklahoma. We are building a industrial building and an administration building while also doing site work, utilities, and all that all that stuff. As you can see, it'll be on a 100-acre yard in which we also did some special procurements, which would be the overhead um, crane on building A and a elevator convening belt in building B. With project C, we will not be talking about because building C will be for a future project. Moving on, I will be giving you our project data, which indicates the activity number, which we will be using as shortcuts to show along and make because of how long descriptions are. Please take a picture right now to follow along with us, and I will give you a few moments. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. And we are moving on. Geoffrey will be now talking about each of the report structures.
We broke this project down into 7 different categories, starting with alternate locations, which is we're building it in Oklahoma City, but we are considering building them in St. Louis or Dallas, Texas, and weighing the cost of each location. Work breakdown structures is taking work packages and categorizing them into smaller categories. The AON diagram or network diagram is to show the full length of the project and to see the flow of it. Again, and the Gantt chart is to show you the WBS, the amount of workers and how long it takes for the project to be completed. The weekly cost histogram shows you the cost versus time of the project. Resource allocation is taking how many workers we have and distributing them across the entire project. And the earned value is taking the costs of actual and planned and determining if we are ahead or behind schedule.
Okay, so we are going to move on with alternative locations first, in which with Oklahoma City, our current budget with it is $3,203,150. And when we compare that to the others, we found that St. Louis would be the best alternative if we were to having to do this project again in a different state against, say, Texas. So we found that, though we do find that it is a little bit more expensive in the long run, and we will be making sure to take that into account for our next projects. We are going to move on to work breakdown structures, which Geoffrey will be discussing.
Work breakdown structures encompasses the 60 work packages of the entire project. As shown in the figure, this is an overview of the entire project broken down into subcategories. To make it easier for her to see, we broke it down into multiple sections. And as you can see here, each category has other categories. to show you which of these activities are under each category. Here's a continuation of it showing the on-site utilities and maintenance and building A of what each one requires in order to complete it. And finally, here's the building B and the final inspection and completion of the project.
Next, we are moving on to the network and the Gantt charts.
Here is a network diagram. It encompasses the entire project and shows you the flow of the project. Here, the red is the critical path that we are going to follow. In the next few slides, we're showing a expanded view of this to show you the paths. And as we proceed forward, you can see we're getting less and less until we get to the final project date of the completion. This is a Gantt chart with the work breakdown structures on the left, the work packages into work categories, and on the right here we have the Gantt chart, which encompasses the amount of workers per activity and the time it takes for it to complete. This also shows you the critical path all the way up until the end of the project. And finally, this figure shows the early start, early finish, late start, late finish, total slack, and free slack of the entire project. Of how many days each one requires and their completion dates.
All right, and now we will move to weekly cost histograms. As Geoffrey talks about, weekly cost histograms is a histogram that talks about our costs, and which it will talk mostly on how much cost was for each day. And from table 2, you can see that we have late costs, but we also have cumulative costs we'll be talking about later. But from this table, we talked about, you can see how each cost was accumulative with a bunch of projects together into forming our histogram, in which it shows how much it costs for that week. And as you can see, the early costs it accumulated sooner rather than the late cost, which actually did it later. And you can actually see that expressed again when we do the time curve. In which we will now discuss about week costs versus time curve. And again, as discussed before, it comes from 2, but this time it talks about the cumulative cost, a late cost, and we figured a target cost on where we wanted to define. And we wanted to look at cumulative as it's building up upon itself. And so when you put that as in a chart, you can see the histogram does have an influence to it. As you can see with the early cumulative costs, it started stacking up really quickly among itself early on, but it started to flatten out at the end, and that's because of the early cost of the spike from the histogram as it was shown. And with the late curve, you could see that it didn't really spike up until the very end, and that was shown again at the histogram, in which you can see that the target cost is in the middle, and that is what we are trying to follow in our project. And now we move on to resource allocation.
And here we take the 30 workers that is required for this project and distribute them across the entire activity. As shown in the figure, this is the before. Since we have 30 workers, it equals out to 3,000%. And as you can see here, majority of the activities are above 3,000%, which means we are over allocated. And the next slide is the after allocation. You can see here we are below the 3,000%. Thus, we are optimal in terms of where our workers need to be, and it's much more uniform.
So what this basically means is that, we have one more thing. We will be the early value analysis.
And here we talk about the actual planned and earned cost of the project. As in table 4, this shows you that our actual cost was $2,188,000, but our earned was $2,250,000, which is greater than our actual. And then our earned, our planned is $2,467,000. When we go down here to the cost variance, you can see that we are positive, but in our scheduled variance we are negative, which is not ideal. But here, when we are SP, we have SPI, which is our scheduled performance index, is 0.9, which is close to 1, which is where we want to be. And our CPI, or cost performance index, is 1, which is ideal. Which all this means that we are under budget but behind schedule.
That concludes the report. So basically, to summarize the whole report, basically we have 60 work packages that we are working on, in which 56 are currently being worked on or have been finished. We are currently under budget but behind schedule as of October 31st of 2020, in which if we were to do this project again, we will find that we would want to do this project in St. Louis. As stated before, it is the cheaper alternative if we were to do a similar project. And this concludes our final project report. Thank you for coming out, and have a nice day.